You know how we always redo our studios? We move things around, we add things, we're always looking for the perfect setup, we're always trying to improve the workflow, and we tell ourselves that it's always, the last time. It's always the next setup will be the perfect setup. And we pull the cables and we recable everything and we try to make it neat, and then we realize that this piece of gear actually needs to be in this end of the studio. We have to pull all the cables again, and we're always telling ourselves that it's for the last time. This time my setup will be perfect. The workflow will be amazing. I just need to move this and add this, and yeah. And this video will not be very different from all that self-deception. It'll be a video about me still trying to figure out what's a great workflow for me, and probably eventually realizing that I will always be redoing my studio. But at least it might make a entertaining video. So let's head up to the studio. But first, we need a little sip of the coffee. We are in the music studio, and basically my studio are three different areas. It's the video shooting rig over there, and it's my main desk over here, and behind the camera here is my PC setup. And in the moment I'm in the process of redoing a lot of things in the studio, and I actually read a really good article on this subject. I can't remember what paper it was from, but I'll leave a link down in the description. It was a really good read about how routine and having a smooth workflow really helps you with getting stuff done, so you're not troubleshooting all the time, and so you're not getting disturbed by how things are set up in a way that doesn't work for you. And to me, I'm a little bit of an unorganized person when it comes to my own spaces. Like when I work with other people, I'm super organized, but when it's with my own space, I tend to become a little bit unorganized. It's probably because I don't devote the time to actually setting stuff up properly and doing all the research and getting the right things, taking my time. So it's a bit rushed because I'm always on a bit of a time. I'm always a bit starved on time, really. So long story short, I'm taking my time trying to develop my work area here, my home studio, and I'll probably do a couple of update videos as well. So be sure to hit the like button if this is something you want to see on the channel, seeing how I kind of build up my studio again. And I know if you look at it, how it looks now, it doesn't look bad. It's not a bad studio in any way at the moment. It's just that I really wanted to be even better in terms of ergonomics, in terms of cable management, and in terms of efficiency. I want to be efficient. I want to know where things are. I want to know how to plug them quickly from the ins and outs of the sound cards and so on. And in this video I'll go over a little bit of how I've planned this all out, and you can probably comment down below, tell me what you think about my ideas here and what I want to achieve. I think it's also worth noting that my home studio is not just for music, it's for video as well. That makes it so that lighting, for example, having good lighting in the room so I can record videos is really important, because you can't really trust daylight if you want to do a shoot in like an entire room, because over time, especially if you record over a couple of hours, the sun will change and the lighting will change. So that's something I take into consideration as well. Before we take a look at my planned updates, I want to give you a little bit of a history background here to my studio. Basically, I started rebuilding my studio in kind of the summer of 2016. One of the first things I did was I added this studio desk here, the Soir-esque desk, and as you can see from this footage that I shot during assembly, the room was quite barren compared to what it is right now. I had my IKEA desk from the beginning, and I had a couple of pieces of gear before I really started to rebuilding my studio, because I had sold most of my hardware back in, I think it was 2008, 2009. I had like a Roland D50, Yamaha DX100, Yamaha RM1X, and a couple of other pieces of gear, and I sold that because I really wanted to focus more on my education. And then when my education was done, I started working. That was about 7 years ago as a university teacher and psychotherapist, so that kind of ate up all my time. And I did music all along. I've been doing music for like 17 years now or something, and I've always kept doing music, but I didn't really focus on it. I had a really small studio. I'll see if I can find an image to show you how it looks like, because I had like this really small, it was like a walk-in closet really in my old apartment. I didn't really feel good sitting there. It was really tiny. It was hard for me to hear how the music sounded, because it was stone walls and everything was bouncing around. And you know, I easily got headaches from sitting in there. So it was like not a creative space for me. I played a lot of video games instead, and I really struggled to make music consistently and do a project. But when I started doing YouTube in 2015, I didn't really do anything seriously back then. The content I made was, it was kind of shitty. If you want to go back and watch some of this stuff, it's not very good. But ultimately, I got more and more back into music, and in 2016 I really wanted to rebuild my studio. And this was like a very important decision for me to spend the kind of money and to really devote myself, because it's always been a dream to have a really nice home studio. So I was kind of realizing that dream as well. I've always had a home studio, I've always had a nice space, but I had this dream of a really, really nice, like a perfect home studio. But I also feel like I didn't really follow through on building my studio, because in the fall of 2016 I really started to devote more time to YouTube and video. So I focused more on my video editing rig, basically the tables and surfaces that I use to shoot my videos. I focused more on cameras and so on. And sure, music and equipment was a big part as well, as you can see my videos from this fall and so on, and the summer videos. But ultimately I didn't really finish my home studio because the video took up so much time. So now coming into the summer of 2017, I think it's a great time to really, really stop and to think about what I want from my home studio, how I want to create this the perfect space for me. And yet again, I think this idea of a perfect home studio, it's like a meme. It's something that we reproduce all the time. It's something, you will never achieve it. But if you have a goal in mind and you have problems that sort of keeps you from realizing this dream of yours, and you have the means to do something about it, I think it's a good idea to try at least. So I guess this is what the video is about, really. And if you're wondering, my video rig is over there, but I can't show you anything from it because there's a couple of things connected there that are secrets. But you will know very soon. Don't worry. So at the moment, I'm thinking about a couple of things in my room. I'm thinking about the lighting, because I need to have good lighting for the videos. I'm thinking about the ergonomics. Where do I want my stuff set up? I'm thinking about patch base. What kind of patch base do I need? What kind of patch base do I want in order to interconnect things more easily? Because I often find myself, crawling on the floor, reaching for cables and so on, because I wanted to try something different. And because I'm a very experimental person, I really like to change things up. I think patch base might be the right way to go. And if you want to read a good thread about this from Synthesizers and Drum Machines, a group over on Facebook, I'll leave a link down in the description as well. And where were we? And number 4 is that I'm trying to do cable management a lot better in my studio. And I think the patch base and so on will help with that. But also, I really need to decide on a setup so I can really tie things up, because ultimately, if I have a lot of cables all over the floor, and I think I can show you a couple of images of how bad it looks. If I have all these cables on the floor, it's super hard to clean it. It's super hard to clean the studio. And in the article that I link down below, this guy also describes that if you have this messy workspace, that will impact you, and I've definitely felt it. That's why I really like to take something like one of my Electron stuff, like my Rhythm here, and just take it downstairs and sit somewhere else where it's less cluttered. So I guess number 4 is not really cable management, it's more decluttering. And I guess you could say just get rid of stuff. But I know myself, I will always have a lot of stuff. I'm a little bit of a hoarder in that sense. I love having a lot of gadgets that I can interconnect and do different things. And I'm not a very organized person, as I said, when it comes to my space. So I need a good good foundation, a good organization of my things in order to be creative. And I've really started to work on it, and I really see the benefits. For example, labeling drawers, having dedicated spaces to put things when I'm not using them. All those things are very useful for someone like me. And I'm not super unorganized. I mean, a lot of people see my studio, they see images and they think it's pretty clean. I've seen much worse home studios. But even I'm semi-structured, but I still need a lot more order in my life, and I think it might go for you as well. So let's talk about patch base. I'm thinking of adding a couple of patch base to my table here, probably 2 rows of patch base, or 2 different patch base. So I guess that's 48 different inputs and outputs, I think. And the idea is basically to have my sound card set up so that I have all the inputs of the sound card and all the outputs of my gear, so since it's probably half normalized, I can probably just leave it as is. But if I want to change something or patch something into the inputs of the sound card, and that will be a lot more smoother. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can probably read up on this thread that I made over on synthesizer and drum machines. A lot of people are explaining how to use the patch base, and this was something I was struggling with. It was kind of a logic that I hadn't really thought about much, how patch base work. And while talking about patch base and how to connect things, this is my Focusrite sound card, and I'm actually changing this for a Claret 8 Pre, a Thunderbolt interface with 8 inputs. But I'm also thinking of adding a Behringer Ultra Gain for 8 additional inputs. So 16 inputs will make it so I can use all this gear pretty much connected directly into the computer without my mixer. I will probably use my mixer as a sub-mixer for my drum brute, using the different outputs from the drum brute into the mixer. And here is the Claret, and it's actually on my video editing rig or table at the moment. I'm using it basically as a mixer or for recording when I'm recording audio from the video rig. But what the idea is to put that in my table, perhaps expand it with 8 more inputs, and then when I want to record something here on the video table, I'll probably just run it into my mixer instead. And speaking of my mixer, it's way back here behind my 3-tier keyboard stand. The reason is simply that I added the keyboard stand, I just had to put it somewhere, and I was still figuring out how I wanted to organize stuff. And I actually moved this, of course, because it's so hard to reach back here. I mean, it wasn't really, the idea wasn't to have it here. I'll probably put it in the other end of the room, so I can use it to interconnect with my video editing rig. Yeah, those are cables lying on the floor, super messy. So it's very hard to clean this room efficiently, but it's also very hard to pull cables because it's such a mess. And yeah, I feel bad for showing you the mess, but I'm sure you guys have seen worse, definitely. So I think I'm safe. And as you can see over here, the same goes for under my main studio desk. There's just too many cables laying around. I need to sort them out. I need to wire them up to the table, so I attach them to the table more, so I get them out of the way when I want to clean the room. But also I need to figure out setups and routing, so I don't need to pull cables all the time, because that's a big part of the mess. But none of this matters if I can't get the ergonomics right. I want to have some things fixed at certain points in the studio. For example, my 3-tier rack or a 3-tier stand for keyboards, and I want to have some things that are, you know, easy to remove and interchange and so on. And of course, you know, there's no perfect scenario. There will always be problems. But here's one bit of knowledge that I can deliver to you guys. Always build a bit bigger than you need. So basically what I'm thinking is, I have 8 inputs at the moment at my sound card. That's not enough at the moment. So in the future it'll probably not be enough anyway. So that's why I'm thinking of expanding it to 16. I'm thinking of getting 2 patch bays, because I only need 1 at the moment. But when I get more gear or other gear or more outboard, you know, it's really good to have that set up. So you don't really need to start rewiring everything when you add stuff, if you're adding stuff. Or you can just go the minimalistic route and remove things. I think that's pretty legit as well. I mean, it would probably be a better solution for me, but it's so boring, so why do it? And talking about ergonomics, here are my circuits, for example, and my LCXL, my launch control. And I mean, what I want to do is basically I want to have different setups in the studio, because you can't really interconnect everything. That's not viable. So I want to have different setups with, for example, my circuits, with, for example, my electron gear. So it'll be easy to reach them, but at the same time, I probably won't use everything at the same time. Just a couple of pieces at the time, really. Alright, so this was a video on my home studio progress. If you have any suggestions, leave them down in the comments. Be sure to slap a like on the video if you like it. And perhaps you want to subscribe to the channel or head over to patreon.com/bowbeats. And my daughter is of course behind me to make you want to support me even more. So with her cuteness. So alright guys, talk to you later. Hope you have a pleasant day. This was Bo from Bo Beats signing out. Thank you.